Going now to Joel Skousen, a former Marine Corps officer of naval aviator from Vietnam era, of course, best-selling author, researcher, one of the preeminent experts in the world on secure homes, on strategic relocation. I made a film with him, and he has a big book available at InfoWarsStore.com that breaks all that down. And, of course, his uncle was Cleon Skousen, who wrote The Naked Communist and started a lot of the libertarian constitutional movement you see by understanding why ultra-rich were funding communism. And so he joins us now. I don't like saying, see, I told you so. I got a sick feeling when I got a call last night from Joe Biggs at about 7:30, 8 o'clock that they had just shot and killed one of them and were calling it a shootout. I had a suspicion it wasn't a shootout. The media ran the headlines it was a shootout even today. Oregon standoff, militiamen killed. And now we can put up the new headlines with militiamen on video cameras with guns screaming angrily, you know, it's a bloodbath, an Armageddon, we're going to get you. I mean, you couldn't script it worse. To start a civil war, to start a war on patriots, Obama rolling out against the guns. I mean, if Obama prays his little pillow at night, this is what he's praying for. And if this is successful, they'll then have attacks on federal buildings, provocateured or staged, to really go to the next phase of oppression. That's my view. We'll see what Joel Skousen says. He had a great plan for him to leave. The sheriff pretty much took our plan that we sussed out and came to them 2 days later and said, this is what you should do. And then that all changed. So this is now a disaster. Joel Skousen, do you concur with what I'm saying? What can you add to it? What you warned of is now unfolding.
Well, it certainly has, Alex. I predicted that this wouldn't end well and would end in, a federal shootout. What is interesting to me, though, is how the feds allowed them. I think they lured them out of the refuge, Bundy and his group may have showed up at the community meeting last week unannounced, and it may have caught the feds off by surprise. But, to be in a standoff situation, though there was no direct armed confrontation, they were still armed and they were claiming to defend that refuge. And then to drive out of there and expect not to be arrested was kind of interesting. The fact that they got away with it the first time allowed them to take on this meeting in John Day with this other public meeting and to address their cause. And obviously the feds had set them up so that they ambushed them on the way out there. They pulled them over, as you've reported, in a car. And what is really interesting is the fact that it was clear that they intended to shoot these people because rather than, surround them, they had their hands out the car and they shot at them with their hands out the car. And that's why they took off the second time or the first time and tried to evade the shooting, end up crashing. And then with hands out of the car, they were being shot at again. So, Finicum, who's a very mild-mannered, grandfatherly type, well-spoken, Mormon. He's a good religious man. It's a shame that he's the one that got shot. I mean, this guy was taking the higher ground. He, there's conflicting reports about what happened when he got out of the car, but clearly he was not armed. His hands were in the air. And it's true that he may have been fed up. One of the witnesses in talking to Bundy's bodyguard said that he rushed the officers, but I don't think that's really what happened. What I think was, in his anger, saying, look, if you're going to kill me, then go ahead and shoot. And he was, walking forward to them, basically bearing his chest to them with his hands. But there's no justification for the police, the FBI, or whoever it was, to shoot him in the head when his hands are in the air. I don't care if you're walking towards him or even
absolutely. So it's going towards murder, leaning towards the fact that the feds have decided to try to provocateur something because they were able successfully, because of plants, I think, Joel, to demonize the land rights movement there.
Well, it's clear that they didn't want a Waco in the sense of a siege. They could have besieged that refuge weeks earlier. They could have cut off all contact and they could have cut off any food supplies, but they didn't. I think what they really wanted to do is to portray that this was a shootout with the militia, which it was not a shootout. There was no guns fired from the car whatsoever. There was no guns raised to defend themselves, only hands out the window. And what's interesting here is that there are now 6 witnesses to this murder. And although there are going to be defendants in their own trials and things, we have 6 credible witnesses,
yes,
that he was shot with his hands up.
The governor should order the state police to release their squad car videos. I don't expect the feds to, but if they don't instantly release these, it shows the 6 witnesses are telling the truth. Do you think it's a mishap by whoever shot him, or do you think this is part of a larger plan?
This is part of a larger plan. They had to go in there, trigger happy, wanting to take these people down, and they did so. In fact, the fact that they peppered this car with bullets, with people's hands up, where they had to grasp around and find some kind of white flag. I mean, one witness
they might have been planning to kill them all and set them up in a shootout.
You know, clearly, when you shoot that many bullets into a car, you're intending to kill everybody in the car. And that's simply unwarranted. I don't care if there's weapons in the car. The point is...
I totally agree, Joel. You're a smart guy, and that's why we've got you here. What do you think the big picture is? You agree that they walked into a trap. What do we do now to get those people inside the refuge out who are running around saying they're going to fight to the end? I mean, this is deteriorating quickly. Do you agree?
Absolutely, and it's foolish to fight to the end. I mean, clearly they need to defuse this situation, as we have encouraged them to do from the very beginning, and live to fight another day. And what, as I say, is you figure out another Hammond, someone who's being oppressed by the BLM, who's got a clear case like the Bundys had on their ranch in Nevada.
Shouldn't they just leave now and go directly unarmed to the police department, get out and lay on the ground? Because I think if they've gone this far, they may kill more people that come out if they catch them out on the road somewhere.
Well, I only disagree in the sense that I don't think that the feds want to create another Waco there. They've already got a murder charge being aired about in the internet, which is enlivening these things. And that may well have been why they shot one, to see if they can't throw the militia movement into an armed conflict with the nation. I don't think it's going to go to civil war. I don't think it's going to get...
No, I agree. I agree it's not going to go to civil war, but it creates the narrative for the background for in the future to persecute the patriots.
Yes, it certainly does. And it makes it almost impossible now to do an Ammon Bundy style standoff, even in defense of someone like the Hammonds. When you go in armed and anything, now everyone's going to be primed to say, yeah, take them down, put the feds in. They're going to have to cover up this murder, though. And I think they will. I think they'll sequester the dash cam videos, if there were any there. They won't allow them to be shown. They'll be sealed in court testimony. It will be their word against mine. And I'll predict they're going to let the federal authorities off scot-free. This will enliven the movement and enrage it. But I clearly don't think, because Bundy lost the high ground by staying too long, and it ended up poorly, it's going to enliven a certain portion of the movement. But I was afraid that there were some agent provocateurs there within the refuge. They seem to know everywhere about their planned movements to set up this trap going to John Day. In fact, the meeting may have been organized in order to lure them out again.
Joel Skousen, editor of WorldAffairsBrief.com, is our guest. I'm Alex Jones, who just joined us. The whole thing stinks to high heaven, Joel, and you look at what else is happening in the world. I want to come back from break and talk a little bit more about this, but I also want to get into this new war powers authorization. Just briefly going to break. I mean, you know, senators calling it worldwide declaration of military martial law.
Yeah, it's very, very serious. I'm not sure it's going to become law, but it's definitely dangerous as it's written. Absolutely.
I mean, it's got the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, pushing it. It's got a bunch of co-sponsors. It just shows the season we're in of rampant power grabbing. I also want to ask Joel Skousen, we're going to have some bam, quick questions about Hillary Clinton. Rush Limbaugh's coming out saying, you know, she might kill Bernie Sanders. You've got all these other people coming out against her. I mean, are they about to get rid of her? You can't make this up. The new political correct groups, the stories up on Infowars.com, have come out and said Martin Luther King wasn't inclusive enough. He wasn't politically correct enough. We've also got Sweden in places saying they're going to charge people with, sedition if they criticize radical Muslims. See, they're going to take our rights away in the name of, making them feel at home and covering up statues in Rome when the Iranian religious dictator shows up. It's just crazy. And then we have all this political jockeying going along. Bernie Sanders being invited to the White House. Are they getting ready to slip him in? I thought it'd be Biden if they indict Hillary. I'm really seeing big guns come out and say bold things as if the handcuffs have been taken off with Hillary. Now, she's got a lot of, knows where the skeletons are buried. But the word is she's not too healthy, so maybe the wolves smell blood. Geopolitically, Joel Skousen of World Affairs Brief, the editor, what are we facing right now, just as a gestalt with Hillary, election, Trump saying he won't be in the debate, things like that?
Well, I think Trump, first of all, made a very wise strategic move by evading the debate. It wasn't really the Megyn Kelly thing that he was evading. It was the Muslim trap that they had set up. They had two or three, immigrants, one Muslim, one Hispanic, ready and primed to ask him embarrassing questions to try to focus on that issue. And they were setting up a major trap for him. So.
And now everybody will talk about him instead. He'll end up getting more viewers than the debate going everywhere else.
Absolutely. It's always a win-win situation. Trump's actually showing quite a bit of political finesse despite the way he speaks. I'm surprised that he is able to keep them churning. And
well, he does dumb down his speech. I mean, he's super smart. I mean, he's doing that to be more populist. It's surprising.
Yeah, he did make a major error, I thought, when he talked about, I can deal with Pelosi, I can deal with Schumer, I can deal with McConnell and all these people, no problem at all. That's really not the kind of message that conservatives...
Sure, they can say that means he's being establishment.
Yeah. Now, I don't think he is controlled by the establishment. I mean, he just simply can't stick to a script. Nobody who's controlled would act that way. But nevertheless, it's very clear when they trot out Ben Sasse, the very popular senator from Nebraska now, to take on the anti-Trump movement. He's going from campaign to campaign in Iowa, talking down Trump. And even the Washington Post is talking about perhaps running him as a dark horse. I think the establishment is desperately looking for someone to come up and take over the lead from Trump if they can destabilize or at least neutralize most of the other candidates. So, Jeff Renz has been touting Ben Sasse for a long time. I'm particularly not enthused. Anybody who comes out and becomes an attack dog and takes the place of Dick Cheney at a major GOP a meeting in New Hampshire isn't somebody who I can trust as a conservative.
Sure. The editor of the Financial Times of London, Bilderberg Group member at Davos, says the, quote, global super elite must stop Donald Trump at all costs, and they're all doubling down with money against him. And the word is Trump is really learning about the New World Order, conspiracy, everything else. Little Birdie's told me that, Joel. I mean, he's got to really watch it if he's for real.
Yeah, he really does. But so far... the big story now is what to do with Hillary. Now, I realized that you had on a guest who said that Hillary's going to threaten to, I guess it was Larry
Nichols.
Larry Nichols, yeah, who, worked for the Clintons. He knows the Clintons well, but I don't think he understands really the globalist agenda, because if he thinks that anybody, even Hillary Clinton, can go and threaten those people with all the deep, dark secrets and stay alive, I think he's kidding himself. He doesn't understand the ruthlessness.
Stay there. We got to go to break 70 seconds. I think what he's saying is intramural in the governing minion class, this is a fight. But it's like, the A team against the B team. But come back for 5 minutes, give us your take. Then Jakari Jackson's hosting the 4th hour because David Knight is deploying to Oregon and the new Waco that could be developing. We hope that's not the case. And I'll get more of Joel's take on angles he thinks we ought to report on from there, because this is really a mess. I just want to get those people out of there. Radioactive contamination is now in most of the food supply. There's only 2 ways to avoid this. Move south of the equator or properly protect your thyroid with Nascent Iodine. Secure your super high quality Nascent Iodine today at InfoWarsLife.com.